Hello. I was wanting to make a recording of my thoughts today. For one, I'm grateful that I didn't feel panic attack type feelings yesterday. I haven't felt it today. And I'm just thinking about how proud I am that I'm actually um, taking every opportunity possible to understand myself in a positive light, to give myself credit for all the effort I'm putting in, to give myself credit for the courageous risks and the steps that I take to try to get to where I want to be. Um, and some of where I want to be isn't even well defined, it's just have uh comfortable finances, be a part of a community, be physically healthy, feel organized in my life and mentally, and and not have panic, um or OCD, or really bad anxiety, and just to be able to relax and retrain my mind to see things in a positive light. And yeah, and it's while it's not a direct path, I think it's a worthwhile path, and it's a very worthwhile path to stop trying to see myself from the perspective of the most critical person out there what they could possibly say, but instead see myself from the perspective of um the the beauty and the heart and the soul of trying, and just what it means to be a human going through suffering and all these circumstances that are beyond our control, but just holding on to the things that let us, like, hold tight to sanity, to the things that just make us sane and feel lighter and um healthier and freer, and more interested in being alive. um yeah, because I guess I'm just thinking, like, putting all this internal pressure on myself, this internal condemnation of who I think I'm supposed to be, and regrets and anger towards people for all the reasons why I think I'm not supposed to, or why I think I am someone I'm not supposed to be now. Um, it's like I just don't want to spend my time being alive, being caught up in all that. And I think that I've been realizing lately that it's truly a option to, either opt in or opt out of that type of mindset, that type of way of perceiving myself and perceiving my circumstances. And also I do want to see myself as not having to, like, take on the weight of the world, like not having to be perfect to everyone, and not having to be some type of um like flawless, um inhuman caricature of what humans really are. um I think a lot of, I mean, most pain, it comes somewhere from feeling like we're going to be harmed or hurt by people if we're not a certain way. So we're harming and hurting ourselves to try to be that certain way. And then we harm and hurt others if they aren't that way. Um, or just different versions of those ways of everything being based on fear of not being whatever way will protect us from suffering, protect us from pain. And yeah, I'm really grateful today that I felt strong and healthy. I went on like a mile and a half walk with a little bit of running, just enough to challenge myself. Like I got a stitch in my side after a couple minutes, and I was like, okay, that's good for me. You know, my approach to exercise is I'm trying to just enjoy the process more and be like, if I enjoy the process, then nothing can go wrong, you know? Like, I don't want to exercise just like thinking I'm, gonna be sick forever, like stuck in chronic health issues and like panic attacks if I don't exercise. So I have to force myself to exercise because that kind of, I don't know, it perpetuates some type of doing things out of fear mindset instead of me being like, I want to exercise because I actually feel good when I'm doing it, and then being able to absorb that feeling of feeling good and appreciating it. And I don't know, I'm just thinking lately about how when I was younger, I was in so many crazy circumstances and I hardly ever felt bad anxiety. Um, Even like using substances, I felt like I always had this base level of security. And I had been chalking up, chalking up that ability I had when I was younger to being like, oh, well, I still had youthful health. Like I still had a buildup of health that I hadn't barreled through yet. I hadn't hit the bottom yet. So of course I could, I hadn't realized yet what panic attacks and a frail nervous system and um PTSD, like I hadn't really enough hadn't piled up yet, I guess. I'd been just thinking of it in the sense of like, yeah, when I was younger, I was just kind of surviving on youthful um newness or something, you know? But I think actually it's it was more complex than that. I think some of that played into it to a degree, like but also I had so much more stress, so much more just so much more stress period in all kinds of ways on me back then that how did I get mud on my clothes? I don't even know where that came from. I didn't fall, but it looks like I did. Oh, I was kneeling down when I was taking a picture. I took a picture outside, never mind. Okay. Anyway, um when I was younger though, I had this mindset that I was I don't know, just really enjoying being alive, and I felt strongly like I knew who I was and I was making my own decisions, like even if they didn't have positives, like I felt really strong, like I'm making my own decisions. I know who I am. I'm going my own way. I always have myself to rely on. I felt this basic sense of safety, like connection that I can always relate to people in a positive way because I know who I am. Um I always had myself as my own best friend, and that changed once I did hit um the that common phrase of the rock bottom. Like once I did hit the point where like I was well, I think I was past rock bottom during the point when I was able to even reflect to be thinking about what rock bottom is and what it was for me. Like it's kind of like I was already a bit past rock bottom when I was starting to think of all these things. It was like you have to have a base level of security enough to even give you the courage to think about these things sometimes. Um, because sometimes when you are in that that survival situation, like you can't afford to think of yourself as being in a bad situation, you know? So I definitely did start to be like, oh, I've experienced a lot of pain. Like, where do I go from here? Like, I'm experiencing a lot of pain presently. I have to I have to be more proactive. I can't be living my life just to the whims of whatever happens. I realized I had to intentionally start creating health, intentionally start creating responsibility and for a while I went really hard on like a self-hating kind of self-improvement type mindset, which really harmed me in a lot of ways. Um, but at the same time, it did during that time I did like stumble through and I did stop using all substances. I did start practicing yoga regularly and doing like little exercises like and I which gave me a basic level of strength and health to be able to even probably be able to want to exercise or like take pleasure in it or have a positive association to it maybe. Um but I don't know, during that time when I was kind of in that self-hating, self-improvement, like, just kind of being disgusted by myself, being like, "Oh God, like some of my decisions got me here. How do I separate compassion for myself for things beyond my control with the things I was responsible for?" And I just kind of went overboard and it was like, you know, everything is my fault, like, those kind of really toxic mindsets that are even really painful to think about because it's not practical or real. And it was just maybe more so about the way that I processed my feelings at the time. Like I was going through a lot of painful changes. I had a lot of anger. And so I chose to inflict it on myself, to direct it towards myself instead of have it go outside to other people. And that's just how I processed anger um during that time. So, you know, um but during that time I was just um I started to see myself as my worst enemy instead of my like number one friend and number one fan or like the person that I could always emotionally rely on. And it was during that time that I started to experience for the first time like my mind terrorizing me. Like I never understood OCD, um, like intrusive thoughts, any of that. I never understood any of that until I got into this self-improvement type self-hating mindset a few years ago. And that's when OCD thoughts really ran my everyday life, these thought loops that I couldn't get out of, the immense stress and the sense of non-safety and being like, I can't trust anybody, or if I can trust people, how am I supposed to trust myself to know if this person is trustworthy? And I'm sure these lines of thought are really common human experiences, that people go through different phases in their life. Um, and yeah, so that's what I was experiencing during that time, and it kind of left me without that inner sense of safety because I felt so much like I was polluted. Like I was the source of all the suffering, all the bad things, having a body being the source of a lot of my pain and, the panics and just the feeling ill, feeling sick a lot of the time. And yeah, I guess that was what really got me into that type of mindset. And it's like the past, maybe 6 months or so has been me, um, well, maybe longer than that, but especially the past 6 months has become like a real theme in my life of focusing on interpreting things in a loving and calm and safe way. Um, and not being unfair on myself, realizing that so many things happened beyond my control, factors like that. Yes, I made decisions, but I was poorly informed. I had, so many factors that caused me to be unaware, and just lack of examples growing up of what loving community could be, of what care and safety could be, lack of feeling those things with anybody. And yeah, that really developed. I think it's really common, it really impacted um, my decisions, and um, yeah, I'm trying to figure out still who I am, like after my 20s. Like I had a pretty strong idea of who I was through my 20s. And I'm like, okay, I'm a different person in my 30s. How can I appreciate the courage and the effort and the determination and the, kind of innocent, is precocious the right word? The kind of like all the strengths I just had in my 20s that I didn't recognize was really a strength. Um, just all the things that I was better at then than I am now. And, being like, how can I want to admire actual people, not just like an idea of myself in the past. I want to admire actual people with these traits. But also, I think it's important to recognize, to repair that inner sense of like self trust and basic safety, and having a mental model of identity for who I am, what I'm doing, the who, what, when, where, why, how, to help me decide what decisions to make in my day to day and to feel secure, like I'm on some type of trajectory and path that has, it just like digestible and easy to understand or easy to relate to, or just to make sense of everything. I really want to be thinking of that younger self, my younger self, and just appreciating those qualities, because that is what those qualities that I had when I was younger, especially the courage and the ability to have faith in myself, like that's what I'm missing right now, which I think is causing me to be really stuck at where I am in life now. It's like I can't use the strengths that I now have in my 30s, early 30s. I can't use the strengths I possess now yet because I'm still stuck on trying to like remember the strengths I did have when I was younger. So I don't know. I keep on thinking there's got to be easier ways to like totally stumble, be devastated in life, and to like get back up and keep on going and not be terrorized, bless me, by life events or by sensations or by, um, there's just so many unknown factors. But I just know I really want to give myself the gift of being assured that I'm safe in the present. The past is totally different from the present. I'm a different person now. I know different things. Um, the past can't be replicated. Um, I'm not in a, like, factors are always different in the present. And yeah, I just want to be remembering I'm going on somewhere from here, somewhere from all the past after, you know, I don't know, it's difficult because I feel like a lot of the stories that I try to see myself in, it talks about like being devastated and then people get over things so easily. Not easily, but quickly. Or it seems quickly, or it seems like people have things in their lives that help provide momentum and resources for things to improve. And I think my fear of people, my fear of protecting myself, my fear of being seen as a bad person, my fear of um just my whole fear of how do I defend myself while also being kind and loving other people, or how do I not be harmed by people who are trying to harm me, and how do I stay true to my own thoughts and feelings when there are so many different perspectives and opinions that you know that have nothing to do with my own perspective and what is right for me. um and also it's like, why do I even open myself up to these lines of conversation and thought with people sometimes, like sometimes people shouldn't even have that much be given that much of a entryway into our thoughts and feelings in the first place. And I feel like that's something I need to work on, is what are like topics or what are like topics that I can really become interested in that can be ways to relate to people that takes the place of these more philosophical things that are a big part of me. They are on my heart, but it's not safe to open that part of me to everybody. And that should only be reserved for people who are really trusted, um, and trusted because they're experiencing a similar thing in their life at that time. So, yeah, life is lots of ups and downs, but I'm grateful that that I have the safety and security at this time of my life and the resources that I found through the internet to be able to practice thinking of things in a different way and preparing myself to interact with the world in a different way, unlike what I've experienced so far, in a positive and surprising way. And by the world, I just mean I'm basically talking about finding community, like feeling like I'm a part of something bigger than myself. And that's another thing that I think a lot about. I don't know, I guess my whole or a lot of things I think about are related to the spiritual kind of side of life, the more spiritual, philosophical side. And but I always want to keep it grounded in practicality, pragmatism, um, because what's the point of all the philosophical thinking and, all the different persuasive rhetoric we choose to use, all the narratives we choose to use, unless it's in support of things that are worth defending, unless it's in support of things that are, that can, protect health, um, and protect, beauty, beauty, nature, freedom, all these things. So, that is, I guess, it for today. I've been, doing chores and haven't done school yet today, but I will get to a bit of school. Well, I'm house sitting this weekend, starting tomorrow, so I have to kind of do some extra things around the house in preparation for that. But I'm gonna have all weekend, just hanging out at the house. I'm going to, and I'm gonna be doing chores and doing chores, doing school. Um, and school kind of feels like a chore. It's one of those things. I really don't like it, but I really want that degree. Really want a degree because I never want to be homeless again. Alrighty, that's it from me. Take care.